Hi, I'm Mike, and every day on the ranch is filled with hard work in order to bring food to your plate. And as we are now less than 1 week from shipping calves off to auction, it's time to move some cows around in order to make room for the over 300 cows and calves that'll be on their way back to the corrals in the next few days. We have to move heifers, steers, bulls, and our bottle calves to new pastures today as we play musical cows on our Wyoming Life. When it comes to space here on the ranch, we have plenty of it. But as we get closer to selling calves, which happens next week, well, that means all the cows are soon going to be back here at home on about 7 acres. All 160 of them, plus their calves. It makes for some cramped quarters. At the moment, we have steers, heifers, and bulls right here at home as well. And the bottle calves taking up some corral space that we're going to need soon too. So today we get to move a bunch of cows around. It's kind of like 3-card Monte. You move the bottle calves here, you shuffle the heifers here, steers go over there, the bulls go in their winter pasture. Then you move the bottle calves back over here, and the heifers go into a trailer and move to, well, I'm not even sure yet. One thing I do know is that I plan to get some cool drone shots of me moving cows, but because we have a nice gentle wind blowing out of the west at about 300 miles per hour, that's not going to happen. The drone hates the wind, and unless you want to see me crash it in about 3 seconds, it can stay in its box. Instead of the drone, I have a few cameras that I'm going to be moving around and a new GoPro that I'm going to wear to give you that first-person perspective. I'll do my best, but keep in mind it's just me out here, no help, and no cameraman. Let's get to it.
The easiest place to start is the closest, our bottle calves, or calves that have lost their moms after birth, or their moms wouldn't take them, or some other goofy thing happened. However they ended up here, they are orphans. Most of them were hand-fed until they were old enough to eat food on their own, and rather than stick them back out with the cows where they could get lost or confused, we kept them close to home. They've been living in this corral for the last few months, but now this corral is needed for the steers, who we'll deal with in a few minutes. The easiest place to move the bottle calves to, that is, out of the way for a while, is into the barn, at least until we get done moving the other cows around. They are pretty docile. They're used to people moving them around, and they move into the barn with little effort, although I don't think they're too happy about it. The steers are hanging out just outside the bottle calves' old corral, which will soon become their new corral. Steers are bull calves that have been castrated. We don't just do it for fun. It's actually a vital procedure that makes them easier to deal with than a young and rowdy bull, and it also makes them gain weight faster. That's important because these steers are being raised for their meat. Up until now, they've been eating grass and hay, but starting today, they will get a daily ration of corn, oats, and barley. The amount that they get is carefully figured based on their average weight, and over the next couple of months, the ration will be increased as they gain weight. When they reach about 1,200 pounds, they'll be taken to a USDA-inspected processing facility and returned to us as about 500 pounds of beef that we sell to our farmers market customers. There are 7 steers, so when we butcher, our freezers will be filled with almost 2 tons of hamburger, steaks, and roasts, or the same weight as an average American car. In the end, that works out to almost $30,000 in beef, before expenses, and if we never sold packages or ever put it on sale. A lot of work, but a huge part of our business. Getting the steers into their new corral and eating their new feed is a big step to clearing out the corrals and pastures and getting ready for cows to come home. But a lot more is needed done as we begin working with the heifers. The heifers are first-time moms. They were bred for the first time this summer to a heifer bull, roughly the same age as them, at about 15 months. After checking them by ultrasound about a month ago to find out who was and who wasn't pregnant, they were moved into this corral, where they have been anxiously awaiting the next step in their lives. After preg checking, we found out that 2 of these heifers are not pregnant. One is our daughter Grace's, which we'll be keeping and trying again next year. The other was found by ultrasound to have underdeveloped ovaries and will never be able to get pregnant. She will be sold, but before we can get there, we have to sort both of them off the other heifers. Doing so means that we have to move them into one corral and then make the heifers we don't want to sort off go back into the other corral. Sometimes it works perfectly. Other times, you have a cow, like 80, who's one of our oldest and a pet cow, trying to help, but she usually just ends up in the way. Through a bit of moving and shaking, you can get the heifers you need sorted off. We're going to put them in with the steers for now so that they're out of the way, and we move the rest of the heifers up into the loading corral and onto a waiting trailer to move them to a new pasture, where they're going to be spending the winter, keeping them separate from the other cows until after they have their calves in the spring. They're due about a month before the other cows, and because heifers are notorious for having complications during the birth process, we like to keep them separate. That way we can devote a lot of our time to taking care of them. Once the first batch is loaded into the trailer, they're taken to their new pasture and dropped off. Then we go back and get the rest, releasing them as close as possible to their friends, where they go right to work eating the new grass they've found. Well, we're almost done, but we saved what could have been the most problematic bovines until last: the bulls. These guys have been sorted off the cows for the last couple weeks and have been living out on pasture, separated from the cows by just a few fences. Bulls are stubborn animals. They learned somewhere along the line that if they don't want to move, you can't make them. Each full-grown bull weighs over 2,000 pounds, and if pushed too hard, they're going to start to push back, and that can make for a very bad day. One of the techniques that I try to practice on the ranch is low-stress cattle handling. Basically, that means you try to stress the animal as little as possible, taking your time and being incredibly patient. One trick that I've learned over the years with bulls is to find the alpha bull. Just like dogs, wolves, or even elephants, the herd mentality is in full effect with the bulls. There's an alpha bull, the one in charge, and occasionally another bull will challenge him and want to move up in the pecking order. Bullfights can be epic and go on for hours, and usually leave a bull injured or even lame, which happened to this black bull. He challenged our red bull, named Bubbles, for supremacy of the herd and ended up going lame on his back leg. He now has a pronounced limp, and because of that, he will not be effective in breeding next year. After allowing him to heal up for a few weeks, it's evident that it's a permanent injury, and he's going to need to be sold. More than likely, I'll end up taking him to auction with our heifer that can't get pregnant. So because of that, he will need to be sorted off as well. It looks like Bubbles is still the alpha bull, and after getting him moving in the right direction, the rest of the bulls move along with him, from one pasture to the next, and eventually into the corrals and onto the trailer. Bubbles is not only our alpha bull, but he's also the oldest bull on the ranch. He's been through this a few times, and he leads 2 other bulls, including the heifer bull, right onto the trailer. Once inside the trailer, pandemonium breaks out as a bullfight starts inside. Bulls do well when out in a bigger area, but the closer they are to each other, the more aggravated they become, and it's imperative to get them out of the trailer as soon as possible before another bull gets hurt. We still have 2 black bulls to get into the corral, and after some coaxing, they begin to move in the right direction, where I can split them up, keeping our lame bull back and moving the other black bull into the trailer. But it's not always that easy. He doesn't want to leave his friend. But with some patience and light nudging, he eventually gets with the program and loads into the trailer himself, where the door is closed and he's taken to the bull pasture with his other friends. The lame bull is kept back and separated until it's time to sell him. He's fed, and the bulls in the bull pasture also get a bale of feed to keep them occupied while they get used to their new homes. Back in the barn, the bottle calves are let out after being cooped up in the barn, and they seem happy about being outside once again.
So now we're ready to bring the cows home. Next week, we'll be sorting off their calves, loading them in semi-trailers, and taking them to auction in South Dakota. I hope you stick with us as we head into the payoff for the ranch, the one big payday that makes it all worth it. From feeding all winter long to calving in the middle of a spring snowstorm, haying, fencing, and all the little projects that come up on the ranch every day. Our goal here is to give you an inside look at how food gets from our ranch to your table. Whether it's beef, pork, or veggies, there's a story behind every bite, and we're happy to share our story with you. Subscribe and find us on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure that you don't miss a thing. Have a great week, and thanks for joining us in our Wyoming Life.